All right, good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is. Today is Thursday, August 29th, day number 119. Riley is exerting pressure on me to go forward. This is the rock garden that I talked about last night. A few rocks are stacked up. That's where we had our tent last night, and we are getting started with the day now. So much more beautiful than yesterday morning when the skies were all clouded over with clouds. Clouded over with clouds, yes. And this is just a beautiful section of the trail. All these, I couldn't really see it that well last night as we were walking into this area, but yeah, it's all little pine, are these called pine trees? I want to call them Christmas trees. But what kind of a tree is a Christmas tree? Is it a pine tree? Gosh, I feel like I'm making myself sound like an idiot right now. So yeah, I'm pretty sure these are pine trees, because there's pine needles everywhere on the ground, and there's little baby pine cones on the ground as well, like all those pine cones. So yeah, these are all pine trees. These seem like very tiny pine trees, and of course there are larger pine trees. Yeah, but yeah, very beautiful area here. In about a mile, a little over a mile, there's supposed to be another rock garden, I think even more impressive than the one we just came from. So I feel like I'm going to run out of GoPro space pretty soon. I have about an hour left of a memory card. And I was hoping to get a new one at the Walmart in Rutland, but I read that it's actually a small Walmart. So they have less selection, and I'm going to try and call them probably and ask, but I'm thinking it's doubtful that they have a memory card for sale. Apparently they don't even have dairy products. They don't sell ice cream at this Walmart. They don't sell, apparently, even produce at this Walmart. Anyway, so yeah, I might have to just try to make the videos really short going forward and stop all my rambling. But I like to ramble. So we slept okay last night. It was very chilly. Very chilly. I was mostly warm enough in my liner, in my sleeping bag, and my clothes that I was wearing. But I didn't get fully comfortable until the morning. I think I got my best sleep once the sun actually started to come up and the temperature started to rise a little bit. It's still chilly. I still feel a chill in the air. Riley, you are going too fast. I'm trying to go at a slow pace so that I can just walk comfortably and not exert too much pressure on my right knee. Yeah, so once the morning came, I did get some really good sleep, but we're getting off to a late start. I heard several hikers hike by earlier this morning while we were still in our tent. I had excellent food last night. Excellent food. I made some ramen and I made some instant brown rice. I soaked the instant brown rice during the day so it was fully hydrated by night, and then I added a bunch of condiment packets. I added soy sauce and duck sauce, 2 packets of soy sauce, I think 2 packets of duck sauce also, and several spoonfuls of peanut butter, a salt packet. I'm making it sound like it's really salty, but like it was a whole peanut butter jar full of rice, so I definitely got the salty flavor, but it wasn't overly salty. Alright, so this is the type of kind of steep descent where I need to be extra careful with my knee. Helps to use my trekking poles here. Hold up, buddy. There we go. So I'm having doubts about actually going into Rutland at this point, because I was really hoping that this Walmart would be able to cure all of my problems, but I'm less confident that it will be able to do that. And there is a shoe store, a gear shop, just a few miles past the US Route 4 place. So whether I get the shoes at the Walmart or the shoes at this gear store doesn't really matter. So that's something for me to chew on the rest of the day today. Didn't get much reading done last night. Started reading, read like the first paragraph, and then I'm like, I'm tired. And I went to sleep. I can definitely feel my knee, my right knee. It just feels tight. Felt fine. It doesn't hurt while I'm not moving. All right, so I'm gonna stop rambling. The day is off to an okay start. At least we're started, right? That's the hardest part of the day, is just to get started. All right, so I believe this is the second rock garden that I had mentioned earlier. Riley, come on, let's continue on. Lots of there's all these little rocks here that, some of them not so little, but they're just loose rocks that are, some of them like small boulders, and they're like, yeah, they're loose, so they're not like wedged into the ground, and people have taken the liberty of stacking them on top of each other and making some artwork out of it. And there's a blue blaze trail here. Let's see what this says, Riley, without knocking everything over. White Rocks Cliff Trail. Oh my goodness, Riley. Oh my goodness, Riley. Ah, yes. So the blue blaze trail goes that way to White Rocks Cliffs. I'm not going to go out there. It's 0.2 miles. I actually remember doing that in my 2018 hike. Someone had actually really recommended me going out there. So the story is, I got to Four Pines Hostel, which was around mile 700. It's in Catawba, Virginia. And this was in my 2018 hike. And the guy that kind of took care of the operations there I believe his name was Finn. I'm kind of surprised that I remember that, but I'm pretty sure his name was Finn. He was a really cool guy. He drove us to the Home Place restaurant, which was at that time the #1 rated restaurant on the entire trail, but it ended up closing in 2020, so did not go in this year. But he was a wealth of knowledge. He apparently has done the trail like 4 times. Riley, it's okay. He's done what he's called a boomerang, where he hikes up northbound and then he turns around and hikes southbound. Some people call that a yo-yo, but he actually had the take that it should be called a boomerang, since you're going up and then down. And he said a yo-yo is really when you go southbound and then come back northbound. Anyway, he strongly recommended that when I get to this area that I go out and visit White Rocks Cliffs. And so I did that in 2018. And it was a good view. It was a good view. But I'm fine with not going out there this time. Especially with my knee being the way it is. And it's just harder, honestly. It's just harder when I'm holding the camera like this. So I'm just going to finish talking and then put my camera back, and then it'll be easier. But I did call the Walmart in Rutland, and they had a nice menu where you could pick which department you want. And I picked the electronics department, and the phone started ringing, and I'm like, nobody's going to pick up. I just have a feeling that nobody's going to answer the phone. And somebody eventually answered it. So long story short, so they do sell micro SD cards, which are the memory cards that I need for my GoPro, at the Walmart. And they have sizes ranging from 32 gigabytes all the way up to 512. So that's awesome. And I also was able to call a second time, because this wasn't the purview of the electronics department, and confirm that they do have a shoe department and they have some hiking shoes there. So that makes me feel better. Anyway, so this makes it more likely that I'm going to try to get to Rutland tomorrow, stay at the hostel, and it seems like the Walmart will actually not be able to solve all my problems. I was joking, of course, when I said that, but it will be able to solve some of my problems. And I'm just going to try to continue to be careful hiking, and eventually my knee is going to heal. I just got to keep telling myself that. So, yeah, that's all for now. White Rocks Cliffs. I didn't go out there. I didn't get any footage of it, but if anyone wants to see it, I'm sure someone else has taken footage of it, and I'm sure it's on YouTube. So feel free to search for White Rocks Cliffs. It was a good view. It was a good view. I just ran into a couple hikers that I have not seen in a very long while. I think they're right up here, actually. I don't want to bother them. All right, so continuing on here, just remembered that I had started talking and then stopped earlier, since I saw the two other hikers stopped by that brook. And so I just wanted to complete my thought there that I had. Yeah, so those two hikers that were by the water, taking a short break, those were the same two hikers that I was talking about previously that I hadn't seen in a while. So Riley and I were hiking down from that White Rocks Cliffs area. It was a little bit of a long descent. And we saw these two day hikers that were going up. They were separated by a little bit, so they passed us separately, and of course Riley wanted to watch them each as they continued on, so we were standing still for a while, and then Riley started wagging his tail, and I wasn't sure. I thought he was wagging his tail at one of the hikers that was still going away from us, but apparently he sensed that some other hikers were approaching us. And then as they got closer, I didn't realize who they were initially, but they said, "Hey, Van Gogh." And so they apparently recognized us. And then as they got closer, then I recognized them, but I didn't remember their names. So Shaggy and Pepperjack are their names. And these two guys, I first met them at Woods Hole Hostel back around mile 630, and they were hiking. Shaggy actually is married to well, he's married, and he was previously hiking with his partner, Her trail name is Chia, which he reminded me of, or he told me. And they were also hiking with their two dogs named Mango and Kiwi. Those names I did remember. Mango and Kiwi are their dogs' names. Now it's just Shaggy and Pepperjack, and Chia is back home in Minnesota, which is where they're living, taking care of their dogs. They decided to get their dogs off trail. I didn't ask them what reason, but apparently they were actually not planning to have them hike with them in New Hampshire and possibly even Maine as well, from the get-go. So anyway, so their dogs are no longer with them, and Chia's taking care of the dogs, and Shaggy and Pepperjack are going north. They apparently have taken a good bit of time off trail, and yeah, so after seeing them at Woods Hole, we bumped into each other a few times after that, but then the last time that we saw them was actually at Rockfish Gap, just before entering Shenandoah National Park. And this was the day that Riley and I had to, we walked out of Waynesboro, and then we walked up an interstate highway because we got lost, or we didn't go the right way as we were walking out of Waynesboro, and we got stopped by a cop who didn't even give us a ride to the trailhead. He just said, stay on the inside of the shoulder behind the guardrail, which I was doing anyway. And it was ridiculously hot that day, and then we spent a lot of time at the King's popcorn place, just resting up. And then finally, as we got going, we saw the 5 of them, including the dogs, just come out of the woods, and they were planning to go into Waynesboro and take a zero there. And Riley and I were just about to enter Shenandoah National Park. And this was actually on July 4th, and today's August 29th. So that was the last time that we saw them. And then we saw them again today. And then we chatted briefly when we initially saw them, and then they decided to take a break at that water source. So Riley and I sat down with them and took a break as well. And we were able to chat some more. So it was great to catch up with them. Very, very nice guys. Shaggy and Chia are both from Minnesota, and Pepperjack is from Massachusetts, from the Boston area, I think. Riley, hold up. I'm trying to go nice and easy, Riley, and you're trying to go to catch up with everybody that you've seen in front of us. And one memorable thing is when I was at Woods Hole Hostel, which was the first time that we actually met up with those guys, all 3 of them and their dogs. The owner of Woods Hole, Neville was her name, Neville Wood. She's the daughter of the family that, or maybe the granddaughter of the couple that originally started the place. I remember talking about this on camera, she was encouraging me to let Riley off leash and said that he would be better off leash. And of course I was very resistant to doing that because I didn't want Riley to get into a fight with any of the other dogs. And I remember talking about that on camera and being like, you know, I'm sure she has a lot of experience and is trying to give me the best advice that she thinks. She's trying to be helpful. But I remember
Shaggy and Chia coming up to me and telling me that they had the same concerns about their dogs, or specifically one of their dog who they described as being very, very reactive. Hold up, Riley. And so they, like when I described Riley's personality, that he can be quick to get into a fight, they said that one of their dogs, either Mango or Kiwi, has a very similar personality. And so we were both happy to keep our dogs separated from each other. They were keeping theirs on leash as well. And they were listening to Neville give me the advice. And apparently, I didn't realize what they thought of it at the time. But I just found out in talking to them just now. They both thought that Neville was very out of line with how persistent she was in telling me how I should be handling Riley. And anyway, it was interesting to think that, because someone else had told me that as well. As I was going up towards McAfee Knob, I ran into a day hiker who had a dog, and I relayed this story to him. And the first thing he told me was that, well, she doesn't know your dog. She doesn't know his personality. You know your dog the best. You know what his personality is, and you should trust your instincts. And apparently they had the same exact thought. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I appreciate Neville for sharing her thoughts with me. But I also appreciate, everyone, the other people that I've talked to, for sharing their thoughts with me. And currently, I still don't feel comfortable just letting Riley off leash. I think it's just safer to keep him on leash. Riley, you're wasting your energy, buddy. Slow down. And so I'm just going to continue doing what I'm comfortable with. Doesn't mean I want to be stuck in my ways. I want to continue to learn how to improve my communications with Riley, and I'm happy to try to teach him new things and train him better to listen to what I'm telling him to do. But I also don't want to put anybody at risk, including him as well as any other dogs. So anyway, it was cool meeting those guys again. Apparently they said they're planning to meet up with a friend in the 100-mile wilderness, and they have like a particular date that they want to meet him at by, which is like the 24th of September, I think. And so they're under a time crunch. They have to average like 18 miles a day apparently in order to meet that target. So, and they know it's going to be tough since they have to go through the whites still. So anyway, that's their goal, is to do big miles and try to meet up with their friend when they arrive. But they also said, well, they can only do what they can do, so, which is very true. Just at the end of the day, just enjoy the hike as best you can. It's been a little while, so I figured I'd check in here. Got a nice stretch of trail here. We actually hiked up another mountain that was called Bear Mountain. So another Bear Mountain. The most famous Bear Mountain, I think, is in New York. And then there's also a Bear Mountain in Connecticut that happens to be the highest peak in Connecticut. And then we hiked up another Bear Mountain here in Vermont. And I'm pretty sure there's at least one Bear Mountain down south, possibly in Georgia. So that's where the sun is. Still high in the sky, but I can see it's definitely beginning its descent. when Riley and I started the day, we hiked for a little bit without seeing anybody, and then the first person that we saw was coming southbound, and he said, "Good afternoon." And I was like, "Good afternoon." I wasn't sure if it was still morning, and apparently it was afternoon by that point. And it was shortly after that that I actually turned my phone on and called the Walmart to inquire about what they had in stock. And it was about 12:30 at that point. So I'm guessing we got started with our hiking day about 11:30 or sometime after 11. Pretty late. We took another break, Riley and I, when we got to the top of Bear Mountain, as like a little reward for all the climbing we did. It was a bit of a climb, and it was definitely tiring. And Riley was, I hadn't fed Riley yet today, so the main purpose for the break was to feed Riley. I fed him his dog food, filled up his bowl as high as I could with water, and then I gave him some oatmeal and brown rice as well that I had already cold soaked. And I actually mixed up, when I took a break with Shaggy and Pepperjack earlier today at the water source, I used the time to filter some water, and I threw in one of my Pure Kick drink mixes, and I decided to put in the strawberry watermelon flavor. And it's amazing how quickly I can drink a liter of fluid if it's got the drink mix in it, because it tastes so good. And so I drank up several mouthfuls right after I mixed it up, and then I finished off the liter when we were at the top of Bear Mountain. But since hiking up Bear Mountain, since we took that break, we've descended, probably done at least a couple miles. I sort of feel like my knee is starting to feel a little bit better, but I'm at the point where some people say you don't want to jinx it. I don't usually say that too often, but I feel like this would be an appropriate time. I don't want to jinx my my knee improvement by saying that it's feeling better, and then that not be the case. I feel like I don't have enough actual experience yet, just since it's been feeling bad ever since Monday. So it's been feeling bad for like this is the 4th hiking day since I injured it, and I was feeling bad this morning, and now just in the last like hour or so I feel like it's not bothering me as much. So I'm not convinced yet if that's because of how I've altered my walking style. Like I'm trying to use my left leg more to put less pressure on it, and like when I come to this type of rock, I'm using my left leg to support my body weight as I descend, and then land on my right leg, so that I don't need to overburden my right knee. So I've definitely altered my walking style to put less pressure on it. So I'm not yet sure if it's feeling better just because of how I've altered my walking style, or if it's actually starting to feel better, or a combination of both. But anyway, I have that minor good news to report, that it feels like it's starting to get better, and I just hope that it continues in that positive direction, continuing to be a nice, beautiful day. And everything is so much more beautiful when you're nice and healthy, especially when you've been injured and then you feel like your injury is getting better. It really makes everything seem so much more cheerful. So I'm still trying to just walk at a nice, comfortable pace. And I'm thankful for this easy trail that I have right now. And I'm looking forward to getting to the hiker hostel at the Yellow Deli. I'm definitely hearing that the Walmart has both the shoes and the memory cards that I am in need of. I am definitely planning to try to go into the hostel when we get to US Route 4, which will be sometime tomorrow. And I'm motivated to try to get as far as we can today. Of course, without too much night hiking, but the farther we get today means the less hiking we need to do tomorrow, and the earlier we can potentially get in to the hostel. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting there. I think it would be so awesome if I can join their Friday night celebration dinner. I think they call it a Shabbat dinner. Saw someone who commented on Far Out refer to it as a Shabbat dinner. Someone that had attended the dinner. I think it would be awesome to attend that. So, but if I'm not able to, if for some reason, they don't have it, or they're not inviting hikers, or I get there too late and I'm not able to attend it, then it would still be all right. I'll still be able to go to the grocery store, which is in walking distance of the hostel, and have a very good dinner from whatever I buy at the grocery store. I'm actually thinking that if I do end up going to the grocery store, I'm really in the mood to get some whole wheat pasta and pasta sauce, and use that as my base to start with, and just have a lot of spaghetti. I'm really in the mood for spaghetti, and I think I'll be hungry enough to eat all of the spaghetti in whatever box of pasta I buy, and use up the whole jar of pasta sauce, and then that'll fill me up pretty good, probably. So probably wouldn't need to buy too much else for dinner. Probably just maybe like a can of vegetables or a can of beans to mix in with the pasta to complement it. But I think just going to the Shabbat dinner and being able to eat with the other people who run this hostel, I think that would be awesome. I'm sure the food would be excellent, and I think I'd enjoy the conversation with everybody. So one thing I haven't described here is this Yellow Deli that's connected with this hiker hostel. It's run by this community called the 12 Tribes Spiritual Community. I believe that's the name. And it is a controversial group. There's lots of stuff on YouTube and on the internet. They have been referred to as a cult, and I've heard that they have had a bad history of how they treat women. But I know that I stayed there in 2018. I thought everyone that I interacted with was very friendly, and I thought I didn't feel like anybody pressured me to do anything I didn't want to do, such as join the group. I think part of the reason they have the hiker hostel is as a recruiting tool. And if people are interested, then they can talk to them and get more information. And they do offer people to spend a day at their farm as a way to get to know the group better. Yeah, so I think I would have enjoyed doing that, but I felt like I was really looking forward to continuing with the hike, and I didn't want to take a zero. back in 2018, so I decided not to go to the farm. And of course, this year, given the current situation with Riley and my hike, I don't feel like we can afford a day at the farm and at the expense of not hiking. So I would prefer to stay on the trail and just keep hiking. But anyway, so it's a controversial group. I've heard that it's, if you join, I've heard they really frown on you leaving. But I try to not put too much stock into like stuff that I hear. It may be true, it may not be true. And I'm just going based on my experiences, you know, my direct experiences when I stayed there. I had a good time, and I think I will have a good time again. And that's why I am seeking to go there. I mean, I certainly didn't feel like I was in danger in any way. There's absolutely no concern with that. They are very hospitable to hikers, very friendly to hikers. The point being, I am looking forward to getting to Rutland, having a good meal, going to the Walmart. There's also a Price Chopper grocery store very close to the Walmart that's also in walking distance. And so for whatever the Walmart might not have, because it's apparently a slimmed down Walmart, particularly with regard to food, I can go to the Price Chopper. And I so look forward to going to grocery stores on trail, especially new ones that I haven't been to. We got a little view spot here. We don't need to stay here too long, but it just opened up. I think that's the Rutland Airport over there. I think so. And that's a nice little open space over there. Yeah, that definitely, my guidebook says that there is a view spot in this vicinity, and it must be here, with views to the Rutland Airport. And that looks like there's a runway over there. We're actually, as we continue on, we are getting close to this thing called Clarendon Gorge, which has a big, Riley, hold up, which has a big suspension bridge over it. But yeah, so Rutland is accessible via two roads. It's accessible via US Route 4, which I'm targeting to get to tomorrow. And it's also accessible via Vermont Route 103, which Riley and I should get to in a few miles. And the distance between those two roads is 17.8 miles. So I actually could try to get into Rutland today when we get to that road, Vermont 103. But my preference is to try to get there tomorrow, because number one, if we were to go in today, we would only have done 9.5 miles today. And then we'd still have the 17.8 to do tomorrow to get to US Route 4. And I remember from 2018 that hike, that 17.8 mile hike, is rather difficult, and I'm not sure that we'd be able to get there in one day. Whereas if we continue on past it today, then we won't have to do the whole thing tomorrow, and we should be able to cut enough into it that we can actually get to US Route 4 by the end of the day tomorrow. So yeah, so by targeting to get into Rutland via US Route 4, we should be able to get a little farther on trail. And then the main thing is that the celebration dinner that this group has that's running the hostel is, I believe it's held on Fridays, I'm pretty sure. And today's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday, so it just makes sense to try to go in tomorrow if we can time it right with the dinner that they're having. Okay, Riley is wanting to go forward. Oh my gosh, is there another hiker coming? Oh my god, no. Yeah, so there's a hiker that's going up right now. He just crossed paths with us. Just chatted briefly. and he is actually, he said there's a road down there. I think it's Vermont 103 actually. I can hear the traffic right now. And there's apparently a farm stand or a food truck connected with a farm that is like either a half mile down the road or a mile down the road. He said he got some nice greasy food there, and then he was standing right there, and I noticed he had a bouquet of flowers in the back part of his pack, and I was like, are you carrying a bouquet of flowers? And he is. He said his wife is coming down tomorrow, I think, and so he's gonna give her the flowers as a surprise. So that's not something you see every day. All right, we've just come like another 30 feet or so, and there's a sign here. Danger. If the ledges are wet, walk around the sides of them. Ranger fell here on August 1st, 28 days ago, and broke his collarbone and tore his rotator cuff. PTM. Not sure what PTM stands for, but it's referring to that rock there. Yeah. I totally understand what he's saying after hiking through New York when it was all rainy because of Hurricane Debbie. That was, yeah. So I totally understand this. But fortunately, it's not wet today. But I think I'll still be careful and walk around the edges. So we are approaching Clarendon Gorge right now, finishing off this descent. This is a very nice area. The gorge is right down there. There's no camping allowed in this area. If there were, those spots down there would be absolutely very beautiful spots to camp. But this is a very popular area for day hikers and people in the area to come and appreciate the natural beauty of the gorge. And so in these types of areas, they try to discourage camping, if not prohibit it, to try to keep the area as nice as possible and make it a welcome place for any visitors. And this is the suspension bridge. It's gonna shake while we walk across it. It is shaking here. There's definitely a good flow to the water there. It is shaking. Good job, Riley. Good job. Okay. Good job. So this is the climb out of Clarendon Gorge on the other side of Vermont Route 103. And I do remember this as being this stretch of 17 point whatever miles between here and US Route 4. I remember this as being a difficult section for my previous hike because back in 2018 I met this hiker named Santiago. Very nice gentleman. Met him just prior to Clarendon Gorge, and we were both wanting to go into the Yellow Deli hostel, and Santiago had already arranged for a shuttle ride into Rutland at that Vermont Route 103, and so I decided to go in with him, and we had a good night there. Good meal at the restaurant and breakfast the next morning. And then the next day I was planning to hike from that Vermont Route 103 road crossing to the US Route 4 crossing, and then get another ride back to the Yellow Deli. Hold up, Riley, hold up. And it was the first day we went in, it was a Thursday. And then the next day, when I was planning to hike to US Route 4, it was a Friday. So actually the same situation that I'm in now in terms of the days of the week. And I was motivated to complete that section rather speedily so that I could get back to the hostel and participate in the weekly dinner that they have on Friday nights. But I was able to complete the hike, and I was able to get back to the hostel and get a ride back from the same shuttle driver. But I was not able to complete the hike fast enough to be able to get back in time to participate in the dinner. So that definitely left a memory for me. And the first part of naturally the first part of this hike is very, very uphill because Riley, slow down! Because we just finished a downhill coming into the gorge, and so it makes sense we should have a big uphill on the other side. So just gotta take it one step at a time. And hopefully we can get enough of this bitten off tonight so that whatever we have left for tomorrow is, Riley, wait for me, buddy, is more manageable. And I'm still favoring my left leg.
Hello, good evening. Van Gogh here. Riley and I are in our tent. Just want to close out the day here for Thursday, August 29th, day number 119. So we made it to this place called Gould Brook. It is 10:56 p.m. right now, but we've been in our tent for a little while. We probably got here maybe like 9:30 or so. We hiked about 4.8 miles past the Vermont Route 103, and we have exactly 13 miles to go until US Route 4, which is our target for tomorrow. And I was actually planning to stay at a campsite like 1.3 miles back. That was also near a water source, but it turned out there was somebody there already when we got there, and because it was already dark at that point, but there was already somebody there, so I decided to push on another 1.3 miles to come to this campsite, which I had seen on Far Out as well. But we're actually not at the campsite that was listed on Far Out. So when we cross, there's this brook. Like I said, we're at this brook called Gould Brook. It's a very nice, kind of like a river almost, a small river. And we needed to cross this brook just with stepping on rocks, and it's always harder in the dark. So turns out Riley and I crossed it in not the location that we should have crossed it, so we got spat out onto the other side at a place that wasn't exactly where the AT was, but it seemed like there was a trail there, but that wasn't exactly where the AT was. So that took up some time to figure out exactly where the AT picked up. My phone was out of battery, so fortunately I had my power bank with me, and I took the power bank out and started to charge the phone up. And then once my phone turned back on, I checked the Far Out app to see exactly where the trail was, and I was able to find it and figure out
that at that point that we did cross the brook a little beyond where we should have, and I followed the trail down a little ways, and I was able to find the campsite that was referred to in the far out comments, but alas, there was somebody there as well. So I just, at that point, I went back to, and while I was doing this, I had left Riley and my pack shortly after we had crossed the brook originally, and I had just kind of gone off to scout things out for myself. So I went back to where Riley was, and since it seemed like there was a trail where we crossed the brook. Yeah, I'm really rambling here, I apologize, but anyway, since there were already people there in the designated place that was right off the AT, I just looked for a spot near where we had actually crossed the brook, and I was able to find a flat spot for us to pitch our tent. And fortunately, we do have privacy now, so we're not bothering the people who are already camped in the quote-unquote designated campsite, and also we have our own privacy, so that's good. My right knee is, I said earlier today, was starting to feel better, and yeah, I sort of agree with that. I mean, it's still bothering me, but I feel like it's not bothering me as bad as it was yesterday. It's also possible that I'm just getting used to it. I'm still trying to be gentle and careful with it, so hopefully it actually is getting better, and it's just going to continue to take time. So, but I am feeling encouraged that I think it was starting to feel better, but I don't expect that it's going to get better just instantly. I think it's going to be a gradual process. Yeah, so 13 miles to do to get to US Route 4. So that's good motivation to get up early tomorrow. We hiked a total of 14.3 miles today. But, like, at least over 2 miles, at least 2.3 of that was after it was already dark. And we definitely got off to a late start today, so I'm gonna try to get off to an early start, and I definitely have motivation to do so that we can hopefully get to Rutland and get to this hostel tomorrow. Yeah, the other thing I wanted to follow up on is when I was talking about meeting the other two hikers, Shaggy and Pepperjack, earlier today, and I relayed this story about when Neville, who's the owner of Woods Hole Hostel, when I relayed this story about when she was giving guidance to sharing her thoughts about giving Riley more freedom and letting him off leash, and how the other two hikers kind of thought she was out of line, and what they really were focusing on was that she kept telling me like what I should do, and it wasn't just like one comment, it was repeated comments. That, I think that's what they were saying was what, yeah, I think that's what they were focusing on when they concluded that they didn't appreciate what she was doing. Anyway, I was thinking about that a little more, and I feel like the words "out of line" might be a little harsh. I feel like the words "out of line" might be appropriate if you think of the role of a hostel owner to simply be to maintain the hostel in a clean, orderly fashion and respond to hikers' needs, and not necessarily get involved in any personal details of any of the guests there. So if you view that as the role of a hostel owner, then I can understand thinking that what she said was out of line, because she was really getting involved in my personal business. But one of the things that I appreciated about staying at Woods Hole Hostel was I felt like she, while she fulfilled the role of a hostel owner, and she and her staff, I felt like they ran an excellent hostel. One of the things I really appreciated and enjoyed about staying there is that I felt like she actually went beyond that, and I felt like she actually showed caring and caring for the welfare of her guests. Not that other hostel owners don't do that, but I felt like she did it even more than other hostel owners. And like before dinner, she made a point, and I think this is part of their tradition, and she made a point to have everyone stand in a circle and share their names and share one thing that they were thankful for. So she was really interested in kind of getting to know the people that were staying there. And so I just viewed, I took her comments as being just her sharing her viewpoint about how she would handle Riley, and trying to give me some constructive feedback, which I do appreciate it. At the same time, I also felt uncomfortable with actually implementing that feedback, because I wouldn't want Riley to either run away or get into a fight. And I don't have the same knowledge in terms of handling dogs that she has. So if something went wrong, she might be better equipped to respond to that situation than I am. And so given that I'm less equipped to respond, since I'm not as experienced with handling dogs as she is, I'm not sure. I guess that's part of the reason why I feel uncomfortable with implementing her suggestions as far as just letting Riley off leash. That said, I wouldn't necessarily say that she was out of line. I feel like I do appreciate the feedback. So I just wanted to clarify that it's not me saying that she's out of line. I was passing on the feelings of some other hikers that were there, and those feelings, they're perfectly valid as well. So I'll leave it at that. So with that, Riley and I are gonna wrap up the night, and we will check in tomorrow for Friday, August 30th. So as always, if you're watching this, I hope you're doing very well, and have a good night or rest of your day, whatever time of day it is. And Riley and I will check in tomorrow, and hopefully get to this hostel at the Yellow Deli that I'm looking very much forward to getting to. So bye for now.